Okay, very good morning, students. Welcome back to the continued part of the topic social and religious reformation movement in India. Okay, in the previous class we studied about the various institutions fighting towards the bad evils in the society. Okay. Today we are going to learn one more institution which was established during the 19th century. Yes. Now today is Ramakrishna Mission. Ramakrishna Mission, it was founded by Swami Vivekananda. Yes, this Ramakrishna Mission has provided a unique contributions to India's spiritual growth, nationalistic awareness and cultural development. Yes. In this way, we are going to learn about Ramakrishna Mission and their aims and their reformations. Shall we study? Okay. Once again, who was the founder of Ramakrishna Mission? Swami Vivekananda. Okay. Swami Vivekananda founded Ramakrishna Mission at Beluru. Yes. Not a Karnataka's Belur. It is in Calcutta. Yes, this Belur is in Calcutta. So he was founded in 1897 Common Era. Yes. This Ramakrishna Mission or Ramakrishna Mutt was established at Mayavati and Almora of Uttaranchal. Yes. Then Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was the Guru of Sri Swami Vivekananda. Yes. He was the disciple of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Okay, then now we are going to introduction about Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Okay. Lifetime of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa shall we read now. And Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he was born in 1834 and he was died at 1886. Yes, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was a worship of Kali in a Kali temple, and also he was a priest at Calcutta Kali Mandir. Yes, he was one as to attain or reach moksha. If one has attained moksha through dhyana and bhakti. This was said by Ramakrishna. If one can able to attain moksha only through dhyana and bhakti, and also his life self was an example for this model of this model. Yes. So he had believed that all the religions advocate the same, whether it is a Christian religion or Islam religion, Buddha, any religion can advocate the same. He also believed that there are many ways of attaining moksha. There are ways or many. There are ways or many. If you want to reach Davangere, we have using many ways. One way is through highway, another way is through Alagavadi, another way is through Halaudara. See, many various ways to reach Davangere. The meaning, like this, if anyone can reach moksha, you can follow any religion. Because any religion can be advocated the same. So he believed that there are many ways of attaining moksha and the God. So he said ideal worship is inevitable. Then in order to spread the teachings of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Swami Vivekananda founded this mission. Swami Vivekananda, he was born in 1863 CE and he was died at 1902. Yes, he was born in Calcutta. Then he studied both Western and Eastern philosophies. He studied Western and Eastern philosophies to understand the world. So he roamed around India for about 5 years. After the death of his guru Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, due to this he could understand the social reality of India. Then he could understand during the 19th century society facing caste system problems, in poverty problem, in superstition, illiteracy. There were many problems were facing during 19th century. He made an attempt to provide a new exploitative free from India with a split similarities. Then he also wanted people to stop following the Western ideals blindly. So he believed it is the duty of the religion to provide light. Every religion's duty is to provide the light. The one who responds to the poor is Mahatma. If one who responds to the poor, he was the Mahatma. And the one who doesn't is Duratma. Who is Duratma? Who is Mahatma? Very simple sentence he can try to understand. He can try to understand. Yes. Then let us read out about introduces the world cultural heritage in India. So he introduces the world cultural heritage in India. In the West, the Westerns could understand the cultural richness of India. Cultural richness of India with the help of speech delivered by Swami Vivekananda at Chicago University in the World Religious Congress in 1893. This speech was very famous. Even you can listen the audio and video about regarding speech delivered by Swami Vivekananda at Chicago.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the afternoon session of the opening day today, the 11th of September, 1893. We now introduce you to Swami Vivekananda from India and request him to address us. Swami Vivekananda.
Sisters and brothers of America, it fills my heart with joy unspeakable to rise in response to the warm and cordial welcome which you have given us. I thank you in the name of the most ancient order of monks in the world. I thank you in the name of the mother of religions. And I thank you in the name of the millions and millions of Hindu people of all classes and sects. My thanks also to some of the speakers on this platform who, referring to the delegates from the Orient, have told you that these men from far-off nations may well claim the honor of bearing to different lands the idea of toleration. I am proud to belong to a religion which has taught the world both tolerance and universal acceptance. We believe not only in universal toleration, but we accept all religions as true. I am proud to belong to a nation which has sheltered the persecuted and the refugees of all religions and all nations of the earth. I'm proud to tell you that we have gathered in our bosom the purest remnant of the Israelites who came to southern India and took refuge with us in the very year in which their holy temple was shattered to pieces by Roman tyranny. I'm proud to belong to the religion which has sheltered and is still fostering the remnant of the grand Zoroastrian nation. I will quote to you, brethren, a few lines from a hymn which I remember to have repeated from my earliest boyhood, which is every day repeated by millions of human beings. As the different streams, having their sources in different places, all mingle their water in the sea, so, O Lord, the different paths which men take through different tendencies, various though they appear, crooked or straight, all lead to Thee. The present convention, which is one of the most august assemblies ever held, is in itself a vindication, a declaration to the world of the wonderful doctrine preached in the Gita. Whosoever comes to me, through whatsoever form, I reach him. All men are struggling through paths which in the end lead to me. Sectarianism, bigotry, and its horrible descendant, fanaticism, have long possessed this beautiful earth. They have filled the earth with violence, drenched it often and often with human blood, destroyed civilization, and sent whole nations to despair. Had it not been for these horrible demons, human society would be far more advanced than it is now. But their time is come. And I fervently hope that the bell that tolled this morning in honor of this convention may be the death knell of all fanaticism, of all persecutions with the sword or with the pen, and of all uncharitable feelings between persons wending their way to the same goal.
Listen it very carefully. Okay. Interestingly, he had visited Mysore. Before his visit to Chicago, he visited to the Mysore as a guest of Chamaraja Wadeyar 10. He attracted the attention of the listeners while speaking at Congress of Religion held at Paris in 1900. Even his speeches mirror his nationalist ideas. His thoughts provided impetus to freedom struggle, and he asserted that freedom includes social equality also. See how the Swami Vivekananda spread his gurus, so Paramahamsa's desire to try to fulfill his desire through this mission. Ramakrishna mission. Okay? Okay. Then one more aspect regarding this topic is one more institution we find during 19th century, that is Theosophical Society. Yes. Who was the founder of Theosophical Society? Can anybody tell? Yes. Madam Blavatsky and Colonel H.S. Olcott. These two were the cause of Theosophical Society. They came to Adyar near Madras. They came to Adyar, it is near to Madras, and established the head office of Theosophical Society in 1886. Okay, let us read what are the aims of Theosophical Society. Shall we read now? Okay, a comparative study of various religions and philosophies and science. Yes, a comparative study of various religions, philosophies and science. Then another goal was to discover the indomitable spirit hidden in the human. Yes, another goal was to discover the indomitable spirit hidden in the human. Then it declared that universal brotherhood is important. See, in the Theosophical Society, Madam Blavatsky and Olcott declared that the universal brotherhood is important. Yes, the society, this Theosophical Society, basically tried for the reformation of Hindu religion. Then afterwards, this society hand over to the anniversary. With the arrival of Irish lady, she was Irish lady in anniversary in India by 1893. The movement of the Theosophical Society started to grow more and more when handed this society to anniversary. Yes, she was born in 1847 in London. She had more knowledge in Vedanta philosophy. She also did a comparative study of Hinduism and Buddhism. Even translating Bhagavad Gita to English is one of the major achievements of Annie Besant. Yes, translating Bhagavad Gita to English is one of the major achievements of her. She was also called as Shweta Saraswati. Yes, was called as Shweta Saraswati. Yes, Annie Besant. She wanted to education for all, and so she opened many schools in many various places in India. Then she started Central Hindu Banaras College. She started Central Hindu Banaras College in 1898. The same institution became a university due to the forethought of Madam Madana Mohana Malaviya in 1916. Madana Mohana Malaviya, it has converted as the university. Then she started two periodicals. One is New India, another is Commonwealth. One is New India, another is Commonwealth. She started Home Rule League in 1916. Home Rule League in 1916 and initiated Home Rule movement in Madras region. She took an initiation, and Mrs. Besant was active in the freedom struggle. Annie Besant was active in the freedom struggle movement and became the first woman president of Indian National Congress. This was very important. Understand? My dear student, note down this point. Madam Annie Besant was the first woman president of Indian National Congress. Then, okay, after that, one more important reformer shall we read now. That is Sri Narayana Dharma Paripalana Yogam. Yes. Sri Narayana Guru was started a reformation movement in 1903. And also he was born in Yelavu of Kerala. Yes. Okay. Shall we read what are all the aims of Narayana Guru Paripalana Yogam Society? Yes. The first thing, strengthening the backward classes. Strengthening the backward classes and exploited communities, and he was strengthening the backward classes and exploited the communities. Strengthening the exploited communities. Then he building a society of human dignity. Building a society of human dignity. And Narayana Guru and his companions. Yes, Dr. Palpu and Kumaran Asan led the movement afterwards. The caste differences were too much in Kerala. In those days, caste discrimination is too much in the Kerala during those days. And there were many prohibitions also there in the place. During that period, all were not allowed to use any facilities like tanks and roads like this. Who were in the backward classes, those who are not allowed basic facilities like tanks and roads also. They were barred from wearing footwear. Restriction to the temples. Restrictions were there on women's dress also. In that condition, the schools did not have access to these communities. See, in Kerala, the situation, what I am going to tell, this situation is in Kerala in those days. These communities had to live without basic human rights. In order to address this issue, Sri Narayana Guru started Dharma Paripalana Yoga movement. This was the background to started this institution. Yes. So, according to him, one caste. There is no various castes. So what we are saying, many castes like backward classes, upper classes, no various different classes, only one caste, only one religion, only one God for human beings was the basic idea of Sri Narayana Guru. One caste, one religion, one God. One caste, one religion and one God for human beings was the basic idea of Sri Narayana Guru. Yes. In the examination, what was the basic idea of Sri Narayana Guru? Yes. One caste, one religion and one God for human beings. That is, this was the basic idea of Sri Narayana Guru. He built temples for the backward communities, as they were denied entry into temples. Yes, Narayana Guru and his companions started Vaikom movement. Vaikom movement, a temple entry movement. Gandhiji and Periyar, the architect of self-respect movement, and also he was also participated in this self-respect movement. Yes. Narayana Guru and his companions started Vaikam movements, a temple entry movement. That is, Vaikam movement is the temple entry movement. Gandhiji and Periyar, both these two were the architect of self-respect movement. Then temple entry of Guruvayur temple was a major incident in those days, because he fight against the traditionalists. Then what were the background of non-Brahmin movement? This non-Brahmin movement was started during Periyar movement. Yes, during Periyar movement. Okay, what were all the background of non-Brahmin movement was started? By the beginning of 20th century, a non-Brahmin movement started in South India. The majority non-Brahmins launched agitations demanding representations in government sector as per their population. The non-Brahminical communities opposed restrictions against them. Then many factors were influenced for non-Brahmin movements. Then this was possible due to the English education. This census reports published after 1870s. After 1870s, this census report was published, provided a picture of their population. The Justice Party started in 1960, continued the movement in Tamil Nadu. Then shall read what were all the highlights of the Periyar movement. The Periyar movement led by E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar or Periyar. This was led by E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar. So this Naikar or Periyar, both are same. Periyar was born in Erode in Tamil Nadu. Erode in Tamil Nadu. He was also called Periyar. Periyar means senior person. Periyar means senior person, that much. He was called Periyar of love by people. So love by people. He was called Periyar because he loved. The people's love very much him. So self-respect movement also led by E.V. Ramaswamy Periyar. So he believed that Congress is in favor of Varna system. Afterwards, he understand this Congress favor of Varna system. Varna system, how many Varnas are there? 4 Varnas. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. This was believed by the Congress. So, and he started a new movement based on Dravida racial identity. Dravida racial identity. Then he said Tamil is the language of Dravidians. Now also Tamilians can speak Tamil. Okay, that the Tamil is the language of Dravidians. He opposed Sanskrit language and literature. In 1925, he came out of the Congress party and started Self-Respect League in 1926. Yes, he rejected the racial supremacy in the name of Arya and Brahmin. He rejected it. He also rejected Rama as the Vedic leader. See, God is Rama. Hindu believes in Rama. So, but this Periyar rejected it. The Vedic leader is Rama. That is rejected by the Periyar and he accepted Ravana as a Dravidian leader. Yes, Ravana as a Dravidian leader. Then he championed equality and criticized caste and gender-based discrimination. Then he participated in temple entry movement held at Vaikom of Kerala in 1924. So he became the president of Justice Party in 1939. Then he started an association called Dravida Kalagam. So the ideological non-Brahminical movement started by Ayonti Das and T.M. Nair. T.M. Nair was turned into a cultural movement by Periyar. Okay, all movements we studied in the previous class and present class. Then Swami Vivekananda, Narayana Guru, Dayananda Saraswati, Rajaram Mohan Rai, all these are reformatives during 19th century. So it helps to change the problems in the society, in the society during 19th century. Okay, thank you one and all. Thank you.